sky's not blue.
Welcome back to the Cult House Podcast. I'm your host, the Scholar of Spite and the Saturday Night Delight, Roger Riddell. Joining me today, he is the vocalist and guitarist from Motherless and the Atlas Moth, Stavros Giannopoulos. How are you doing today, Stavros?
Ahoy, Roger, my man. How are you?
Pretty good. I was trying to think of a way to Ric Flair you in that intro, but couldn't come up with anything. You're gonna have to do that yourself.
Yeah, I'm not.
Your pal.
I am not Ric Flair. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I also feel like you have an unfair advantage, considering I talk to you more than I talk to anybody. It's like you and my girlfriend. I talk to you the most, and actually, you might beat her. So, yeah. So I don't know really what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
I guess the main thing to start out with is you, after years of threatening to do this, finally put out a graphic novel based on the last Atlas Moth album, Coma, Noir.
That's right.
Tell me about the comic.
Man, so it's like unfortunate because I wish that I could have told you about this like 5 years ago, right? Because this took so long, and I can't really complain about it because, to start, the entire album was not really a concept record, but I had an idea of a story in my head, right? And once it started kind of coming to fruition, I talk a lot in the third person on the record. So I kind of was taking the leader of like a cult. I was taking the position of a cult leader. That was the whole idea of how I was talking on it. And, at first, I was working with Ryan Oliver, who's the director of all our music videos. And we had talked about all the different things that we could do about this. And I was going very period correct during that time. All the stuff I posted online for us was black and white, the whole noir thing. And we started talking about it, and we started talking about doing a radio play, which I thought would have been really fun. Quite the endeavor. I needed to write a script, and obviously that doesn't happen overnight. So I started writing out the story. Oddly enough, Nick Savage is a guy I went to high school with. Couldn't believe it. That's his pen name, but he kind of hit me up, and he's an author now. He writes actual novels. So he was like, hey man, if you ever want to work on a story together, let's do it. And I was like, hey, I actually have this story. And I want to say me and Nick kind of went back and forth. One of the biggest things with writing a story is not making every character sound like me. And yeah. It's a challenge. I mean, I always heard that was a challenge, but once you actually put it into practice, it was really challenging. I kept reading things back and be like, fuck, they all sound like me. So Nick was really good with that. Obviously, he's a novelist, so he writes this kind of dialogue. So he was really helpful with that. And we kind of wrote this story, and then it was like, all right, who's going to illustrate this? And as much as I like doing art, the idea of drawing the same character to look exactly the same throughout whatever it is, 88 pages, it's not really my wheelhouse, and oddly enough, we sat on the script trying to figure it out for about a year. So I think it was about 2021 or so, maybe late 2020. A friend of mine named Caitlin was like, hey, I'm dating this guy who's M. Ryan Arnold. I don't know exactly if I'm supposed to call him M. Ryan. That sounds kind of weird. Or if I just call him Ryan. But for the sake of him being billed as M. Ryan, I'll go with that. She goes, I'm dating this guy who's now her husband. And he's a comic book artist. He's like trying to get into that. And I went at him. I was like, hey man, I got this script for a graphic novel. I need an artist. And the best I can do is I can split this all three ways. We can all at least win if we sell enough copies. Like, I don't have enough money to pay you. The entire industry was still shut down. I wasn't touring or doing anything. It's not like I could justify paying some guy out of my pocket. And so it took him a couple years to illustrate it. We finally got that done end of last year, and then it was just up to getting it proofread and actually put together and released, and now it's finally out. like I said, I bet there's a whole lot more I could have said about the say 3, 4, 5 years ago, but now it's
Yeah.
so removed from it. I'm just happy it's out, So, but yeah,
It came out really well too. And like,
I thought he did a great job, man. For real,
yeah.
you don't realize like how. I mean, you're a comic book guy. I'm a comic book guy. For years, my entire life, I'm like, man, this has to be a bitch pumping out whatever, 25. How many pages is a comic book? 20 pages, maybe.
Yeah.
Like pumping out 20 pages monthly. I don't know how they do that. You know what I mean? It's insane to me. I mean,
Well,
granted,
like think about the dudes who are doing like multiple books a month too. Like,
it's incredible.
yeah.
Like, I mean, granted, obviously they have guys that are just drawing it, guys that are just inking it, guys that are just, I mean, there's a lot of people working on it, but still, if you really think about it, it's only about 4 issues total worth of art in our book. And I think that took that long. One guy doing it. It's incredible. There's people out there that are doing this, monthly. Blows my fucking mind.
Yeah. No, I've
a fucking awesome job though. I mean, like people, there's been a lot of people that seem to look at it and they're like, oh wow, this is a real comic book. And it's like, what the fuck did you guys do? You know what I mean? Like, do I have some like sort of pedigree of putting out bullshit? I think that I'd like the quality first. So it was pretty cool how it came out. I think he did a great job. I can't thank him enough for making like a, it's like another check off my dream list. It's like write record, boom, release it on the actual label, boom. A couple times on that. Make records with Blake Judd. All these pedigrees I was hoping to
actually have them end up in people's hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who would have fucking thought, man? So here we are, man. It's pretty cool to have it done though, and I feel like it's like I think now all I need to do is win the WWE Championship, and I think I basically have accomplished everything I wanted to in life.
Yeah. No, we can circle back to Blake in a little bit if you want to, because I actually have talked to him recently, and he's actually doing pretty good. But
that's great to
hear.
We'll circle back to it. I won't get into it now.
There's a few things just from what you said about the book that just popped into my head. The first one, when you mentioned like not having everyone sound like they've got the same voice. I don't know if you've ever read any of Kevin Smith's Batman books. Like he did some pretty good Daredevil stuff. He had a pretty like decent run on Daredevil, but
yeah, that was excellent. Yeah, I don't know.
I think he did like the main Daredevil book though for a little bit.
Did he? I remember Yellow. I think was his first thing though, wasn't it?
Well, I know that he did like a couple of Batman miniseries though, and every character sounds like it's Kevin Smith's voice.
And like the funny thing about that is that he's a great example of someone to bring up because like everyone in his movie sounds like him. You know what I mean? Even the female characters sound like fucking Kevin Smith. It's like I have a lot of issues with Kevin Smith and as far as his writing goes. I feel like he's been super lazy for years. Like, I don't understand why he took on Masters of the Universe when he said he wasn't even a fan of the source material. Now, granted, how much source material really was there? I mean, that shit was a toy. I mean, like they made up as it went along, but I was like a little bit like. It seemed like Mattel or whoever was in charge of that was even like, oh, Kevin Smith, he's a fucking nerd. Let him write it. It's like, find a fucking nerd that likes the stuff, but even then, yeah, all of his stuff does sound like him. Yeah. It's lazy writing,
Yeah, I mean, I like his Masters of the Universe. It's I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily as bad as everyone's saying it is either. You know what I mean? I definitely think that he took some liberties. Like, I do find it hilarious. The guy is like clearly obsessed with girl on girl porn. Like, it's ridiculous. Because he even makes Tila a lesbian, which is fine, no big deal. I think actually fleshing out some of the characters was needed. You know what I mean? But it's like kind of ridiculous how we turned it into like almost some ball ratsy kind of feel to it. It's like, what the fuck is going on here, man? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was actually pretty decent. I mean, I'd like someone that has some more. Sorry, I got Bobo licking me over here. You want to say hi, Bobo? Yeah, there. Okay. I would like to see that property in someone else's hands. I did say I enjoyed his Daredevil piece, and I probably have read maybe one of his Batman books.
The one that I was thinking of was called like The Widening Gyre or something like that, but it was like Alfred sounded like Kevin Smith, Catwoman sounded like Kevin Smith.
When you start making Alfred sound like Kevin Smith, we have issues. That's pretty fucking far off, dude. Like,
yeah, but no, a few months ago when I went to C2E2, I actually went to a thing where it was him and Jay Muse talking about Clerks like 30 years later. And apparently like everything that he ever wrote for Jay Muse playing Jay was basically just the way that he remembered Jay talking when they were in high school together.
It's kind of a discredit to the man, but then again, he made an entire career off it, so I really don't feel that bad for Jason Mewes. Like he even doesn't look bad with his fake teeth. Like he looks all right. So whatever.
Yeah.
He
I mean,
survived.
I feel like you have to have fake teeth now just to be in Hollywood, though.
Well, yeah, the veneers are serious, but you can obviously tell that Jason Mewes lost those teeth due to drug abuse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a weird thing, but he doesn't look that bad. He looked bad in what was it, Zach and Miri maybe, and they looked faker. You know what I mean? But he looks pretty good nowadays. So kudos to him for kicking drugs. It's no reason to hate on him.
You know who had really fucked up teeth a few years ago? Brock Lesnar. Did you ever see those pictures where it's just like, if you Google like Brock Lesnar teeth, his like bottom row of teeth all just look like they're missing the tops of them. Like you can see the fucking inside of his teeth.
Some shit? Like, come on,
I don't know. Like I don't understand why his teeth are like so fucked up because he's got the money to like not have fucked up teeth.
Well, I guess. Oh my god, what the fuck is going on with those things?
Yeah,
those are horrific looking. It looks like they're all fake. Are they all implants or something?
I have no idea.
Someone needs to get an answer out of him, but I'm not going to fucking ask him.
Yeah. No,
I've been pushing his face a lot too.
I mean, I'm not going to go on the record saying that that Brock Lesnar's teeth look like shit either, but
yeah, I mean,
not in his vicinity.
Yeah, I'm about to say, no, yeah. For the record, Mr. Lesnar, I think your teeth look fine. No problem here, dude. We're pretty far away from Saskatchewan though, so I think I'm pretty safe. And I don't plan on going back there anytime ever if I can help it. So
I mean, you're not allowed to go to Canada anymore after WrestleMania.
I can get into Canada. I can't get into Croatia.
Oh. Yeah.
No problem.
Well, I thought that no, you were forbidden from going back to Canada though after WrestleMania 6.
Oh, yeah. And I showed my mom. Yeah. I also was denied entry into Canada.
Oh.
On the Gojira tour. I'd also like to knock into that though, because I am allowed and I don't want to fuck that up. So love you, Canada. No problems here. Don't look at me. Don't read this fucking interview.
Yeah, back to the graphic novel. So Ryan Oliver put it out on Blind Cyclops Books, and like he does a lot of good stuff through that publishing label.
He does. I think Brian is like super talented. The only reason I didn't write the script for Coma Noir with him is because he's been busy doing his own thing,
Yeah.
And he's always done awesome work with us, with the Atlas Moth with the music videos. He's a brilliant guy. He's fucking hilarious. Like, oddly enough, like my best friend since the first day of kindergarten illustrated. I hooked him and them up. He illustrated Birdfeeder, the first book he put out. And that was kind of I actually mentioned about how I'd really like to turn this into a graphic novel or a radio play. And I think he was like, I have all these scripts laying around. Perhaps I should put out a graphic novel. And then I was kind of like, hey, motherfucker, like you're supposed to write this thing with me, but it all worked out at the end. He's been doing some great work though. I mean, he also had an amazing artist from the city, Jeff Cooney, do another script. It's called Godfly. Fantastic stuff. I don't know if you read that one or not, but like Jeff Cooney's art is fucking phenomenal. He actually did some stuff for the Atlas Moth too on Coma Noir. It was like kind of a big family effort with that entire record, So even though I didn't get to do the book with Ryan, getting to do with a buddy from high school was pretty cool. It's actually Nick and I were in my not my very first, but my first high school band together. I think I started my first band in like junior high with some dudes that did. That's knocking down some shit in the background. Everybody. He was in my Nick Savage was the singer of the first band I was ever really in. You know what I mean? So it was actually pretty. Jesus Christ, man. He was the first singer of the first band I was ever in high school. So it was actually kind of cool to reconnect with him after all these years. Like it's pretty rad. So
yeah,
I like to think that I've tried to, anything I can do to help anybody that like was trying to do something creative that I've known for years. I've always liked to include them, kind of like bring everybody up with me kind of thing, as much as I can. It's not like we're going to the moon here or anything, but, as much as I can give a light on friends of mine that I think are creative and fantastic, so it's cool either which way,
Yeah, I've been meaning to check out Godfly too. Like that's I was looking at the Blind Cyclops site and I need to. There's a bunch of stuff on there that looks cool that I want to check out.
Yeah, he's got another couple coming out. I believe I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but sounds like M. Ryan and him are doing. He's got him illustrating a new one for him right now. I guess that's gonna be the thing. From what I hear. Yeah, I can't keep track. Everyone's got so much shit going on,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're doing like shirt designs for like half of the scene too, most of the time.
Yeah, and I'm also writing a second. I'm feeling a little bit more confident in my writing now, so I'm actually in the midst of writing a second. Nothing to do with Coma Noir. It's a totally standalone ghost story for a graphic novel or something. I don't really know. It seems like such an endeavor to like this. Like this took 5 years. I'd like to hope to think that I could do one quicker,
Yeah.
but who knows? I'm actually talking to the artist of Bird Feeder, the first book. My friend since the first day of kindergarten. His name is Rosario. Literally, I was just with him at a wedding over the weekend. Like I can't get rid of the kid. I love him to death, but I've been talking to him about trying to do something a little bit more like maybe releasing it like almost comic strip style, like on Instagram. You know, where like every week we put up like a page or two that you can swipe through, and then when it's once we finish it all, then collect it into a book, something like that. I think that's kind of cool. I think it'd be a neat way to release the story too. You know, kind of or try to do something like I don't know podcast style with it. I don't know. A lot of ins and outs nowadays, and you can do a lot of things. The internet is like the best distribution on the earth. You know, like who
Yeah.
needs to do it yourself? You know, and I don't really plan on not doing stuff or not writing anything. So I really enjoyed writing this book and going through it with Nick, and it's been kind of fun. It's been a nice creative outlet that I haven't gotten a chance to really explore all the possibilities of. You know.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I liked about the graphic novel too was that my copy of it came with like inserts from the Coma Noir vinyl,
Right. Yeah.
which
Did
is
you
cool
get the
because I
cover
never got a
one?
chance to check out the vinyl because
Oh, that's right. You're
I
not a
never buy
vinyl.
vinyl.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
still buy everything on like CD.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's incredible. I mean, you're like holding out. You're the one holdout that's gonna wind up like still being there. Where like CDs are cool, and you're like, haha, bitches, told y'all. You know, I actually think CDs are the superior medium.
Yeah.
I'm,
They don't fucking wear out if you take care of them.
they also you don't have to flip them halfway through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I guarantee there are more people out there right now that like to make the argument that the vinyl sounds better than CDs or whatever when they haven't even changed their needle this year. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
give me a fucking break, dude. You know, like I think I've mentioned to you before. Like, I grew up working at a used record store. The only reason I started buying vinyl was because my paycheck actually, in the late '90s, I could get a stack of vinyl every week for my paycheck, or I could get like 7 CDs. You know, what was I going to take? I didn't have any music. It was the '90s. There was no streaming services. You had to, buy stuff and get screwed because it sucked, and the only good songs on the radio. You know, like so. I'm kind of over vinyl myself, to be honest with you. You know, I usually just keep it to stuff that I need to have. You know, but Ryan and my buddy David Wimsat, they'll put together that special edition for the vinyl. I think they did a great job. We did it. That's all period correct too. It's like the same kind of like I don't know what I know they kind of put like extra stuff that they've had laying around for a few years in there. So I don't know what exactly everyone got, but even like the paper clips that are used in there would be the proper paper clips that you would have used in the 40s. You know, it's like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't, they did all that on their own. You know, I was like, all right, this is awesome. You guys want to do this? And they killed it, you know? So there was some cool shit in there. I'm glad that you actually got some of that stuff since you don't do the vinyl, you know?
Yeah. You know, and like the merch that you all had around that touring cycle was some of my favorite stuff that you all put out too.
The Jeff Cooney, the artist of Godfly, did the hoodie. The back of
Yeah.
the hoodie, that was like an old Noir poster. He did that, you know? We had a lot of really awesome talented dudes. Rosario did one. It's always been a thing, you know? You always bring up your buddies. You know, why would I go outside of my circle when I have so many talented friends?
Yeah, no, I still have I've got two of those the shirts that had like the design on the front that were like a Tales from the Crypt knockoff.
That was actually my design.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah, I put out. There was a third one of those that was like never got made.
Yeah.
Like I drew it kind of wonky and I didn't like it. So I found the drawing of it the other day. I was like,
You know, I had two of them and I just turned one of them into like a muscle shirt the other day.
oh,
So
nice. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I've been doing. They've been going through old shirts. I just realized it's like, oh man, these shirts shrunk weird. But I just cut the sleeves off. They're great.
See,
I actually have a bunch of them,
I had a fucking typo negative shirt from when I saw them live in like 2007 and it shrunk and like I couldn't wear it anymore. And like in retrospect, I should have just cut the sleeves off.
Or conversely, back patch.
Yeah.
You know, cut the design off, sew it on the jean jacket. It's all
Yeah.
it has a whole new life. People don't even recognize that. It's like I can't believe more people don't realize that.
That's what I did with that Knock Misty a mushroom shirt when
Right, yeah.
it started to get like worn out. So I was like, I'm just gonna cut this design off and make it a back patch.
Yeah, the one that you're brave enough to walk around Chicago wearing. It's pretty impressive.
Oh, no, it's Blake told me the same thing.
Yeah, at least he knows. He's not. He's never been not self-aware. At least there's that going for him. I have zero ill will towards Blake Judd. Him and I had some fucking awesome times before he went off the deep end drug wise. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we did plenty of drugs together. It's not heroin. I had a great time with that guy. And he said some things over the years I didn't appreciate. Like I wouldn't have gotten anywhere without him and all that kind of shit. I would hope that he would have a little bit better damn sense than to say that now. It wasn't, he definitely helped for sure, but I mean, so did Coalesce, so did many a band early on. There are plenty of bands that really had our back that helped. And Blake was one of them. I got no ill will. He never really, no, he stole money from me. Never mind.
I know he, so, like I was saying earlier, like I talked to him a few months ago and we were originally going to do an episode of this, but we had to kind of shelve it for some different reasons. But I'll tell you about it off of the podcast sometime. But he actually sent me a bunch of stuff with like a handwritten note apologizing for like ripping me off for like $40 a decade ago. So
you know what? Here's the thing, man, is that Blake, oddly enough, dude, not oddly enough, Blake was always extremely generous. You know what I mean? Like if you showed any sort of interest in his stuff, almost to a fault, he would give you everything that he could possibly give you. Like, oh, you like my band? He was always appreciated. You get vinyl, you get CDs, you get shirts, you get patches, you got everything. He was super cool about stuff. I mean, drugs make you a fucking asshole, dude. Especially something like heroin. I mean, it's been a proven point that rich people throw away their fucking lives for the stupid fucking drugs. So I can't really hold it against him. He was on the throes of all that. I haven't talked to him. I got no problem. If he hit me up tomorrow, I'd absolutely catch up with him.
Yeah.
I did a lot of fun shit with him. We did a lot of cool stuff together. I wish him all the fucking best. I got no issues with him as long as he's not, dragging people through the mud that don't deserve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he seemed like he was in a much better place when I talked to him a few months ago. So I'm just glad that he's got that going for him now.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, there have been about 1.5 million times that him and I got stoned and drove all the way down to Midway for like the 3 months that a Del Taco existed down there. We had some awesome times together. I toured with Doc Missian, was not my most favorite tour. That was kind of towards when he was teetering on the edge of being a complete shitbag. But yeah, even then I laughed a lot with him. I shared a lot of good times with that guy. It is what it is.
It's an interesting story arc though overall.
It really is.
Yeah.
I would love it. I would love it if he could pull it off where he could come back somehow or another. You know what I mean? I don't know how that would happen.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if he could like manage to write like a book or something too, or like if there was like a documentary about like just that whole the rise and fall, and maybe if there's a rise again.
Dude, listen, everyone loves a fucking comeback story, don't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We all do. Like, I don't really think that he's done in any sense. I mean, maybe he doesn't want to be a part of the music world anymore. Like, he was making strides in metal when there was still like, I guess, money to be made, you could say. Obviously there's still money to be made, but I mean, the fact that like he had kind of like he was fucking Death Heaven before Death Heaven. You know what I mean? He was the guy that broke black metal in America, if you ask me. I don't give a fuck what anybody wants to say. It was Assassins. That fucking did it, man. So like, it's kind of incredible how a guy had, such a stranglehold on the fucking music world. Not to mention, I recall like when I met Blake, it was right after Assassins came out, and the Atlas Moth was just kind of getting our shit together. I think we had our EP out, and we were about to we were tracking or about to track. We hadn't tracked it yet. We were about to track A Glorified Piece of Blue Sky. And it was funny because like we kind of came out of nowhere. The only bands that were really doing anything in this town were like Yakuza, Indian, and Raise the Red Lantern, and maybe another band. I don't even fucking remember. But they all kind of treated the Atlas Moth like shit. Because we like showed up and we were new and we were young kids and our friends came to our shows. So like we started getting a lot of flack from these older dudes that like had a real cushy spot of opening all the shows in the city. and we were starting to take spots from them, and they got shitty about it. And Blake had just signed to Century Media, and like that was like the biggest label metal band besides Disturbed in the city had gotten signed to in a long time.
Yeah.
And like everyone hated them, and me and Blake kind of met each other right there in the midst of that, and we were like the two most hated guys in the city. Like everyone fucking thought we were like these fucking assholes out of nowhere. We bonded over that. It was pretty cool because it was like there was like this like camaraderie there. It's like, wow, everyone thinks we're fucking assholes, and fuck them, like maybe they should work harder. Because, dude, if there's one thing I'll say about Blake, man, the guy worked his fucking ass off. It's not like he did it. It's not like he just sat back and fucking collected, a proverbial paycheck or like, scene points he didn't deserve. Like he absolutely he worked for everything that he got, man, and I respect that from him still to this day. There's nothing you can take away from him in that regard.
Yeah, no, it's I think like when I lived here the first time, I moved here like right after all that stuff had started. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
I
it
think
would have been around, it would
first
have been around
called
the second black metal albums they put out, Addicts.
so that was like what, 2012?
Uh
In
First time
probably
I
what,
lived up here was like 2010 to like
yeah,
beginning of
2010.
2012. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to say it was 2010 when you got up here because I remember we were still on a glorified piece of blue sky, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because you all were still in the process of like putting out Ache for the Distance.
Yeah, that
Uh
one came out in like September 2011.
yeah, because I met up with you for the first time at that Greek diner at Cappy's over in was that in Skokie or Niles?
I think it might technically be Morton Grove, but that's kind of like
Oh,
those weird edges of Niles over there. It was right
yeah.
down where I lived at the time. I used to bring bands there all the time. I actually just went there a couple weeks ago for the first time in many moons. And it was funny because, like, obviously, I'm like, at the time, I was the only guy that had sleeves and fucking Niles. And I would go there and, like the guy would talk to me about, like, oh, you in a band? Apparently, the keyboard player from Styx lives down the block. Mind blower there. I had no idea the guy from Styx lived in Niles. And it was funny because I brought in some buddies. I think I'm pretty positive it was Kenmo. Because Kenmo stayed with me about 5,000 times in Niles,
Yeah.
And I brought them there and he was kind of like, oh, what are you guys in bands or something? I'm like, yeah, we're in a band, And he started telling me to bring in, promo photos autographed and they'd hang them on the walls. So, no one tours with that kind of crap anymore. Like that was some 90s shit. No one gets those printed out. I remember when people used to fucking ask you for that stuff and I'd be like, this is insane that we have to print out 500 fucking black and white promo photos to send to people to get gigs. Like, kiss my ass. And but I started doing a thing where I would like print out black and white photos. I would just fucking whip one up in Photoshop really quick and print them off, and I'd bring them to Cappy's. And we'd they had Paul Bear up there, they had Death Heaven up there, they had Ken Mode up there. Like it was hilarious. But I went there a couple weeks ago and they did a whole remodel and they're all gone. So it's not quite as fun as it used to be. I always like thought about how hilarious it'd be if there was like this random metal dude that happened to go there for breakfast one day and he was like, Death Heaven? What the fuck's going on here? It's like, oh, no, they're all gone, unfortunately. I'm sure they've been thrown away too. I highly doubt they kept them. So
Yeah. I wonder, like, just saying that reminds me of I guess like 10 years ago or maybe 9 years ago, I went to Atlanta for like a work thing, and while I was down there, I went to Abdullah the Butcher's restaurant,
uh-huh.
which was not that great, by the way. It was I went
like,
so that I could say that, but like you kind of should expect that though, because it's called Abdullah the Butcher House of Ribs and Chinese food.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Those are two things that like I guess could have some sort of crossover, maybe, but it seems a little fucking weird.
Yeah. But like the appeal of the whole place is that every inch of every wall in the dining area is all just autographed wrestler 8x10s.
Yeah, well, you gotta get the marks in there somehow.
Yeah. But
Like,
like I sat at the table that was right next to the Randy Savage and the Iron Sheik one. And the whole
nice.
time I was just kind of like, how difficult would it be for me to just like slip one of these away?
You know, what's hilarious is that like, so in the Atlas block, I'm absolutely by a million miles the only person that knows anything or cares anything about pro wrestling. And I can't tell you how many times we drove down the highway in Connecticut where you see the WWF headquarters. And I've always been like, can we go? Let me take a picture up front. And no one ever wants to stop. But one time we stopped because, or actually, I think I stopped. I think I was driving like late night into the early morning, and I was starving and wanted breakfast or something like that. And they're off of the highway. So I can't actually say which way it is, if it's before or after. But we got off at a diner over there, and we went to this diner, and it was just like a little shitty Greek diner, like breakfast food or whatever. Every inch of the walls was covered in, I'm talking WWWF 8x10s. Like, it was crazy. Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino, and they had like 80s guys too, but Sergeant Slaughter, everybody was up there. It was like, holy fuck. Like, how many times did guys go sign a contract and then go have like breakfast over there? How many times did Vince McMahon in the early days go over there and schmooze with Andre? Andre the Giant had like 5 of them out up there. It's incredible stuff. Like, I've always wondered where that diner is again. I've never been able to find it. And I have sneakily tried to be like, oh, we should get off for breakfast here, and tried to find it again. I can never find it. One day I will, though, like, I can picture it in my mind.
What if it's like one of those things, though, where it didn't really exist?
It's like the fucking club that George Costanza goes to with the beautiful woman.
Yeah.
It was actually a meatpacking plant. I go there and everyone's like, this is just a meatpacking plant. There's like a loose, like 8x10 of like, whatever, fucking superstar Billy Graham on the floor. Yeah. I would actually appreciate that even more.
That would be fitting, because that was apparently Vince's favorite wrestler at one point.
Was it?
Yeah, I forget where I've heard that from. It might have been on one of the Cornette podcasts, but apparently Vince was a big fan of superstar Billy Graham at one point.
Isn't there like a big thing where they actually say that like Vince is really into the smaller technical wrestlers, but he doesn't think anybody else is? That's why he pushes the big monsters. That's what I've heard, at least. Like a whole thing that like actually the Backlunds of the world and the Shawn Michaels of the world are his thing. But he doesn't.
We know Shawn Michaels was his thing. He pushed Shawn Michaels for years.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I guess if you really want to know what his thing is, you have to, look into his toy collection.
Yeah. Toy collection is right. Yeah. You gotta really read that 77-page disposition against his ass. That's what you really gotta read.
Yeah. There's Jesse Ventura, and then there's the real sexual Tyrannosaurus.
Well, like Jesse wouldn't even go back.
Yeah. He's talking about it now, though.
That's why I read
talking to them again. Yeah,
kind of awesome, because I would love to get Ventura back on commentary for at least tonight. I think that'd be awesome. Just to have him call somebody a pencil neck geek would be great too.
Well, you've heard about the back in the day when Ventura sued WWE over royalties or whatever it was in like the late 80s or early 90s, whenever that happened. Vince called Ventura after he won the case and was like, "You've got my money, pal." And then Ventura goes, "No, Vince, it's my money." Or something like, "The judge said it's my money."
I love the fact that Vince McMahon is like such a rich fucking asshole that he can call somebody that just sued him and like, got that one on me, pal. It's like, that's serious fuck money right there. Like, I don't know. I will never know what that's like. If someone beat me in a lawsuit, God knows I'd be the salty prick to never talk to him again, obviously. I'd be like, leave me the fuck alone.
Gets like knocked out of his entire company and like blackballed, and just like cashes in all of his stock for what, like $8 or $9 billion or however much it was.
Oh no, I don't feel fucking bad for this man. Like I could take 1% of his net worth and never have to work again. Fuck right up. Eat a bag of dicks, Vince McMahon.
Yeah. I mean, he might have been good at like booking everything at one point, but everyone that's watched for like the last like 5 or 6 years at least that he was running everything,
it's like
he lost his touch.
Oh, that's to say the least.
Yeah.
You and I, literally anyone watching this podcast, like, this is what Roger and I text about every single day for hours with Eddie Gobo of Something Is Waiting, who has the worst takes on the planet. then me and Roger often break off of that group text and go into our own text. Be like, is he drunk? Like, I mean, the man definitely doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I mean, like, listen, I think the guy is probably a piece of shit. He's a billionaire. I don't trust anybody with that kind of money to begin with. He gave me absolutely years of incredible entertainment that I'll forever cherish. That being said, fuck him. You know what I mean? The guy shat on literally everything there was awesome about his company at some point or other. And he literally did things to spite the people that were paying him. You know what I mean? It's disgusting if you really think about it. Like, where we had to actually hijack multiple shows to fucking change their opinion of things, you know? Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
You know, like, having every single person ever that wrestles in their hometown lose, it's pretty shitty, you know? You're not gonna cheer them, pal. I'll show you.
I do have to appreciate though that like 3 people who I would consider like my Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling are all people that he hated for getting one over on him at one point or another,
like
or who he tried to
Cold,
screw over.
Like Stone Cold.
So Savage, Brett. If we're talking like modern, so my Mount Rushmore is usually,
who are the 3 guys you're talking?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Savage, Brett, and Punk. Because if we're talking modern people, then Punk is probably like number 4 on there. 4 on my Mount Rushmore changes all the time, depending on what era we're talking about, including.
Sure. I could almost say you could take each era and have a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, probably.
Different things, you know what I mean? Like Hogan is probably the only one that maybe falls in a multiple.
Yeah.
Because he like reinvented himself in the Attitude Era with the Hollywood thing, and that was like kind of the most incredible thing you could think about. That guy just came back after being like ice cold as a fucking babyface in WCW, and he came back as Hollywood as like questionably as big as Hulkamania, maybe. I mean, the NWO, pretty fucking popular stuff, man. You know, like
Austin fits in there for getting one over on Vince too, and for Vince hating him for a little bit. Austin, because of him walking out that time.
Yeah, but I think that was more like, see, here's the deal. Like Vince kind of always had like a aha, you're back kind of thing going. You know what I mean?
Well, he like made him pay a fine though to come back that time.
I mean, Austin, as much as I love him, he's like my all timer. He's up there, definitely top 3 for me. You can't say that he wasn't kind of a baby about some shit. You know what I mean?
And around that time, he was kind of a dick in his personal life too. So
yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, like, I also the whole like not wanting to job the Lesnar thing too kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like that guy seems so all about the business, and like part of the business is going out on your shield, right? You know, it's kind of what bums me out about Undertaker. You know, like I really thought he should have went out on his shield, and he didn't. You know,
like, but I think with the Austin Lesnar thing, it wasn't so much that he was supposed to job the Lesnar. It was that they wanted to just do it on a random episode of Raw.
I mean, it's not the worst thing, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's not like it was happening on Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah. I saw a statistic the other day that like half of his world title wins were on Raw.
Yeah.
Like 3 of them were at WrestleMania, right? Or no, I
read he's one of the times that he won it back. He won it from Taker on like the Raw after the King of the Ring.
Yeah, 3 of his world title wins were on Raw. So like, you're telling me that Raw wasn't terribly important? It's kind of ridiculous. Nowadays, I'll tell you that Raw isn't that important. Like, we're doing a goddamn podcast right in the fucking middle of it, and I'll wind up watching it later when I can fast forward through it because there's a whole lot of that I don't need to watch. You know, like even in the Triple H era, I find there to be a lot of padding on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really need to watch this much wrestling every week to keep up with the story, especially when you have like the Hulu versions of it that are pretty much everything you need, and you can read about it or you can listen to podcasts about it. Like, I don't need to watch another, 6-man jobber match for, to fill up television time, like it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, usually, so I use Raw as a way to block off like 3 hours on a Monday night to catch up on like reading comics.
So you put on Raw and then you read comic books?
Yeah, so like I'll read comic books, and then if I kind of hear anything that sounds interesting, I'll pay attention to Raw for a little bit.
That's pretty impressive, though, because you seem to catch a lot of Easter eggs, too, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know that sent me the clip of Liv and Dom from a couple weeks ago, like when they were just kind of teasing it still. I was like, oh, look at this guy. He's already catching all this shit, Well,
yeah, because that's the stuff that was the stuff that I kind of predicted, though. So I'll pay attention if there's stuff that involves things that like I've sent y'all predictions about, then I'll pay attention to it.
Just to prove us right. I understand.
Yeah. Well, especially Eddie, because Eddie is always steadfast in whatever he thinks is going to happen.
Him thinking that Kevin Owens is going to get fired for like 5 or 6 years now. He literally, I remember like maybe 6 weeks after last year's WrestleMania, after he fucking wrestled Stone Cold Steve Austin in an impromptu main event, him being like, they don't believe in fucking Owens anymore. They're going to get rid of him. I'm like, he literally just wrestled Stone Cold at the main event of WrestleMania Saturday, dude. I think he's pretty solid, you know? Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's on his way out. Like, I really don't. And considering that Owens is so damn vocal about not wanting, like, everyone was talking, because obviously everyone knows that he's super close with the Young Bucks from, like, you know, and Adam Cole and all the guys that jumped ship over to AEW. Even him himself, he's like, no, my ultimate goal was to be in WWE. I'm good. Like, I'm not going back anywhere. You know, like, I'm never leaving WWE. Eddie's like, oh, he's gonna get fired this week. I'm like, hey, I don't think so, man. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he has that thing where it's like, oh, it's my opinion, it's fact. It's like,
Well, like he's closer to like the end of his career than he is to the beginning, anyways. Too, like he's got a family, he's got all the money that he's ever gonna need. Like, why is he gonna take a risk going someplace where he'll probably have to like work a style that's more prone to injury?
I could absolutely see him maybe doing a year there, maybe just to do it, you know, like check off some boxes, wrestle with his buddies one more time. But like, even then, like he's doing shit safe as it is. It looks like he wears a brace under his shirt a lot too for his back.
Yeah.
Like, and he still does fucking nuts shit, you know. And I honestly think that if it's not him and Sammy at the end, what are we all? We're wasting all of that, you know. Like, we still have another good Owen Zane program in us. I'll watch them fight for the rest of their lives. So.
Yeah. Well, we could keep going on about this, but we need to talk about Motherless too, though. So
Yeah,
you've got a new band, Motherless.
I
It's
do.
got Alex from Atlas Moth. You got some other dudes in there. Tell me about that band and how it came together.
The other guys in that, well, so me and Alex, what was it? So not last year, the year before, 2022, around the fall 22, he hit me up and he goes, hey man, I got an extra to Iron Maiden. I'm like, let's fucking go. You know, like, I'm never gonna turn down a free ticket to Iron Maiden. We went, and you know, like, we had been talking, and the other guys in the Atlas Month were kind of doing stuff. You know, Dave's been missing now for like 3 or 4 years. We don't know where the hell he is. And he was like, you know what, maybe we should start something. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know, I mean, it seemed like Andrew from the Atlas Month was really hoping that Dave would pop back up at some point or another, which I really don't foresee happening even now. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we were going to ask Mike to do it, like the Atlas Moth drummer, like Michek. And the next day, I went to pick up my, at the time, girlfriend from work. And it just so happened Gary, who plays in a band, well, he's in a billion fucking bands as a drummer. He's just joined Trouble. He's in a band called Wizzo. He's in a band called November's Doom. And he's in a band called Without Waves. And he happened to be at the bar I was heading to. And he literally was like, hey, let's go have a cigarette. And the first thing he asked me was, hey, what's up with your band? And before I could even say anything, he's like, yeah, I don't really care. Let's start a band. And I was like, well, that's fucking weird, because literally last night I talked to Alex about starting a band. And I'm like, but we probably need another guitar player, you know, like, I feel as though it'd be better, you know, with a second guitar player. And he goes, oh, yeah, Anthony from Without Waves will join. So he just spoke for poor Anthony, just threw him under the bus. I was like, you're going to join this band. And, you know what? We wrote this a record over about a year, and we just tracked it in March. And man, it's been pretty awesome. You know, everyone's super relaxed and super chill, and like, you know, the Atlas Moth is a business, and like, I'll use this platform as to say it now. Like, the Atlas Moth is going to do a record. We're going to write a record next year in 2025. Like, I'm not done with the Atlas Moth, but there's a lot of things with that band. Dave Cush he was a great contribution to it. I don't know where he is. He won't answer calls or texts. I don't know what to do about that, but like, I'm more than confident in writing a record without him, especially now after the Motherless thing. But I think that the Motherless record was kind of like a really good, like, confidence boost for myself, in the sense of like being like, hey, I can do this with other people. You know what I mean? I'm not beholden to that group of dudes. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, we just did this record. It was super. It's really nice to be in a band with a bunch of guys that are pros, that have all done something, and that don't take this too seriously. we played a show with Max Cavalera and his son's band. It's called Go Ahead and Die a couple weeks ago at Reggie's. And it was funny. They have a tour manager with them that was trying to delegate stage stuff. This is all inside baseball stuff that people don't really care about. But it was funny because this tour manager was fighting with the stage manager at Reggie's and about putting our gear on stage and where we were supposed to go. And all of us literally stood there, saw this fight happening, and went like this and just turned around and walked away. And we were all like, they'll figure it out. They'll tell us where to go. Now, with the Atlas Moth, at least one person in that band at some point or another would have been having a fucking heart attack about it. And it would have ruined their entire thing. It would have been a whole big situation. And it's just nice to be in a band with a bunch of guys that are just like, man, it'll be fine. We'll play, who gives a fuck about a sound check? Doesn't matter, like, and that's kind of also the attitude too, like, one thing I really wanted to do was, particularly Dave was not very into a lot of more aggressive stuff that I really wanted to bring into the Atlas Moth. He was always a guy that was like, kind of I started the Atlas Moth with the sense of that we were never going to be a genre, and we were never going to have rigid restrictions on what we could be. And it started that way for sure. And I think that literally Dave was a guy that started putting up boundaries. And that never sat right with me, because the band was always so weird anyway. Like, we could have done anything, and we still can do anything, I can't stress it enough that I'm not done with the Atlas Moth. You're the first person I've actually said it to in a public forum. But that kind of bummed me out. So like, there was definitely some things when we started Motherless where I was like, you know what, man, I don't want to have any restrictions, but at the same time, let's make this the ugliest, nastiest fucking thing I can do. Like, I want to like go back to, like an ache for the distance, like where I was trying to go for in the first place. I want it to be aggressive and nasty and raw, like the Atlas Moth has gone to a point where I feel it's a bit more polished, which is fine because the music is a bit more melodic and it lends itself to it. But I wanted to write something raw, something punk rock, and that's kind of where we're at. I mean, it's definitely a lot of deep beat, Motorhead. I've been saying for a long time that if I'm Lemmy, then Atlas Moth is my Hawkwind and Motherless is my Motorhead, and I think that's the best way to go about it, or the best way to explain it, really.
Yeah, I've seen you all twice now. The first time, that Halloween show that I showed up to dressed like Spider-Man.
That was a great costume. Really played the shit out of that gimmick for sure. We've only done 2 shows. We've done 2 shows.
Yeah, because I was at the other one with Cavalera, but I ended up like bouncing before the Cavalera band played.
They were actually pretty decent. It was definitely I hate talking shit about Max Cavalera. The guy gave me fucking a lot of happiness over my years. You know what I mean? But this is definitely kind of a thing where like it felt a lot like, hey, let me help you out, kid. I'll be in this band with you, and then you can get rid of me later. But people will listen to this if it has me in it, And I get it. I'd probably set up my kids too if I had any, you know what I mean? But like at the same time, I was like, this is cheesy, I didn't. Also, I think concert tickets are fucking egregious.
Yeah,
I think it was a $30 show or something like that. I'm like, this is not worth $30. I wouldn't pay fucking $30 for this fucking show. We're actually playing. I don't know when you're going to drop this episode, but we are playing June 20th, next Thursday at Liars Club. So we got another gig up in August, and then I don't think our record's going to be out until next year, unfortunately. But well, I'm going to try to figure out some stuff. I'd like some music online, before then.
Yeah, because I've heard a few of the tracks too that you've sent me, and they sound really great. Which I don't know if I don't know if we should be saying that you sent me some of the tracks, but I also have they're unfinished too. So
I mean, what are they going to say?
Yeah,
don't do that. Once it gets on the internet, it's on the internet anyway. It's fine,
Yeah, but I mean, it's you're putting it out through Prosthetic, which you had your last deal with the Atlas Moth through them too, right?
Still have to deal with the Atlas Moth, yeah. It's actually kind of funny. They were definitely kind of bugging me about putting out an Atlas Moth one. I'm like, dude, I'll get there. That band, the Atlas Moth's a band that like we all kind of grew up with each other, So I'll tell you right now, I can't foresee Dave Cush being a part of the Atlas Moth moving forward, and that's not because I don't want him to be. It's because literally he won't respond to any of our advances. We call, we text. We don't know what happened to Dave. And to be completely fair, I was just in a wedding this weekend for Alex for the Atlas Moth. He got married. And one of the groomsmen, also I was a groomsman, one of the other groomsmen was a guy that came out with us on our first tour, and he actually reminded me that Dave actually was very vocal about one day he was going to disappear.
Yeah.
So, like I can't, it is what it is, to be fair, also Dave was also the guy that made touring really hard sometimes. He was very uppity. He made everything very difficult, man. And don't get me wrong, shit was difficult, man. Like touring's never easy. People have like probably a little bit of a skewed vision of how awesome tour can be, but like, a Wednesday night in South Carolina is a Wednesday night in South Carolina. It fucking sucks. And there have been tours that we've done where we play a big city and it's sold out and we feel great about ourselves, only to literally go the next night and play to top 5 people. Like, we were never a band that like drew night in and night out. We were a big city band. We play Seattle, Toronto, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, New York. Everything's great, and then we play Orlando and it's hit or miss, or we play, somewhere in North Carolina, and sometimes there's 300 people, sometimes there's 10. It's kind of, there wasn't consistency, and there was a lot of a hardship to do that, and we stuck to it, and we did it for so fucking long. That's also kind of a thing. It's like I feel like I put so many years into that band, like I'm not really willing to just like not do anything with that name, and also I still feel like there's a lot to be done. I feel like there's a lot, like I said, I feel like there were restrictions put on that music that don't need to be there. And I think now, once again, I can't stress enough, with all due respect to Dave, not to discredit any of his contributions to the Atlas Moth as a whole, I think that there's a lot more ground to cover without someone around saying no about things, or being, or poo-pooing on shit, really, like, there were times we talked about doing like weird experimental tracks that were just noise and screaming and drums. And Dave would be like, well, not on this record. And it's like, that's fucking weird, because I don't want to. He would talk about doing like an acoustic song where it was just him singing. I'm like, I don't really want a solo acoustic dashboard confessional song on one of my records either. You know what I mean? So there's like a lot of push-pull with shit like that. And, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Dave is always more than welcome to come on back, but I'm not exactly worried about doing another record with him or without him,
So how would you all handle the clean vocal parts though with that? Would you all be
not ready to give up the ghost yet, my friend? Not ready to tell you that. There are obviously possibilities. There's several ways to go about it. I'll tell you this. The last thing that we have recorded was a 4-track cover EP that we wanted to put on during the pandemic. One of those songs is instrumental and is finished. I'm not going to tell you any of this stuff, because, I hate it when bands talk about stuff they've done, but when there's never going to be a possibility of hearing it. But I think that the obvious, smartest route to go is there's 3 songs, 3 covers that like are more than capable of being finished first. That I think is probably going to be something that like I may try to finish up vocally and maybe get some guests on. By the end of the year. It's kind of my plan, at least, if I can get a job, because I am unemployed and it is getting rough out there. My hustle game isn't very strong at the moment. So as long as I get a job and I can buy a mic that I can actually record vocals with properly, I am going to try to record some vocals on these songs and enlist a couple people that I have in mind. I've been chatting with old friends from bands to maybe fill in some voids in the time being, and then see where it goes, like who knows, maybe I think that no matter what, there'll be an addition to the band, one way or the other, whether it's a guy that whether we write a record with somebody else or just the 4 of us, or we bring in some guys, a full-time member, we bring in some guys, like a guy that's going to be a ringer. We'll see how it goes, man. But I mean, that's the whole thing, man. The Atlas Moth never had boundaries, and I never wanted to have boundaries, and I thought it could be anything, you know what I mean? Like, if we wound up a route that went all melodic and not heavy, I wouldn't have been necessarily against it, as long as it was a natural progression, right? Like, there's no boundaries, So we'll see how it goes. I have a couple ideas in my head. Wait, see what I can pull off.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that, because I know we talked about that during the pandemic, and I remember you saying that there's like a theme to it where they were all covers of songs off of like 80s movie soundtracks or something like that.
So not necessarily. They were all 80s songs. And I'll tell you this, all right? The song that is completed, which literally, I think it just needs to be mastered, maybe mixed a little bit. The song that was instrumental that could come out literally tomorrow with some tweaks is a cover of John Carpenter's theme to Escape from New York.
That's
And
what I was gonna guess when you originally told me all of
yeah,
that.
there's a whole one day I'll talk about it in full when I can actually really get into it, right? I want there to be a little bit of mystery behind it. But that track is completed. That track is totally done and ready to go. And it features actually Dallas Thomas, who was in Pelican, Swan King, Ass Chapel. He's in a new band called Ready for Death here in Chicago. He's probably one of the best fucking guitar players I've ever heard play in my entire life. So he did the guests on that because we were waiting for Dave for so long, and then nothing was happening, and then we're like, maybe Dave's not in the band, and we had him record some stuff to it. So I had a couple other people lined up for some other tracks, but now I'm actually starting to kind of reassess where I'm going to go with that and see what the next step is. I'm not in any rush. Mike from the Atlas Moth's about to have a baby. I got the Motherless thing, which is like definitely something I really want to push. I think we have a fucking killer record, and I think people are gonna fucking dig it. So like I'm not really. And with the Atlas Moth and with anything music, I don't force anything. Like people were asking about the Atlas Moth in this entire interview. Oh, hey, are you gonna put on the Atlas Moth? You put on yeah, dude, eventually, but like it doesn't feel right. And also the Atlas Moth is not a super pissed band.
Yeah.
The Atlas Moth is kind of more, I always think of a hopeful vibe, I guess you could say, or there's like maybe like a greater good kind of vibe. I don't even know how to put it, right? I know someone called this dream sludge once, and I like that kind of genre for it, but I don't think it's necessarily a negative, hateful, angry band. Whereas Motherless is like absolutely what is my negative, angry, hateful fucking band. And it's me fucking pissed for 33 fucking minutes. And it was really nice. I've had a lot of fucking bullshit go down in the last couple of years of my life. So Motherless was fucking very cathartic. I feel like I addressed all my enemies. I feel like I got out a lot of hatred. I feel like I'm a genuinely happier person after finishing that record. It was very, very cathartic, So I'm looking forward to everybody hearing it. It's very, very fast and it's very fucking pissed off. So
yeah, no, I'm stoked to hear the rest of it because I like what I've heard so far and I like what I've heard at the shows. Like you all already sound really tight live, and you've only done like the 2 shows so far.
Right. Well, so I guess I should put this out there. Anthony and Gary, who make up that band with me and Alex from the Atlas Moth, are in a band called Without Waves. If you haven't heard them, you should check them out. Their band is fucking insane. And actually is the only band that once I played one of their records and my bulldog Bobo got scared and barked at my stereo and ran to the other fucking room and hid. I don't know what the fuck they did on that fucking record, but it's fucking terrifying. They're also incredible musicians. They really are. And I'm like stoked. Like if the Atlas Moth only does records for the rest of our time out there, we never play live again, which I'm not saying is a thing, but I'd be more than happy with just being touring in Motherless. Like I love it. It's been super fun. It's been such a different vibe too. Like I said, it's not like I felt like towards the last couple of Atlas Moth tours were just so fucking ball busting that like it wasn't as fun as it used to be, or it kind of became almost more of a production than I ever cared for it to be, So the Atlas Moth will fucking emerge from a cocoon again at some point, when it's right, and that's probably soon. We'll see what the future holds.
Has it crossed your mind that Motherless still has the word moth in it?
That was not on purpose. So it's actually Mothless. Right? But that was not on purpose. No one's gonna fucking believe me. This is like when Jamie Justice says that Hatebreed isn't named after a Misfits song. But I swear to God, I didn't mean for this to happen. We went through. I had a fucking list of band names that ranged from "That's already a band" to "That's absolutely fucking ridiculous. We should never name a band that." I still have it, and some of the fucking song titles on the Motherless record are definitely potential band names that we went through. When we were writing it, sometimes I'd be like, "Oh, this will be we'll call the band this," and then we would think of something in the next week, and I'm like, I'll use that for the song title for that song we're working on. So yeah, it wasn't the case, but there is some humor behind that. I'd rather people think that it says Mothless than they go to motherless.com. Do that at your own risk and not at work, everybody.
If if both bands ever formed a supergroup, you could be the Atlas Motherless.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there is like some oddly enough, there's some cool aspects that could really work around with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's neither here nor there, though. That's me fantasy booking.
I leave all the fantasy booking to Eddie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with him, there's some of the shit that he's fantasy booked for me in my own career. That's kind of incredible. I will admit that I appreciate how Eddie does think of me so fucking highly. You know, needless to say, there was a member of a band, of a very popular band that's no longer in that band anymore. And he told me after he left, he's like, this is your band to lose, man. And I'm like, I don't think they're gonna replace that guy, and I don't think that I'm the guy that necessarily is the dude. But thanks, Eddie. I appreciate you fucking thinking of me so highly. You know, like I won't name that on here. I'll tell you who that is later. But I was a little bit taken aback. I'm like, oh wow, Eddie really thinks I'm an important guy. Not so much, you know.
Yeah. No, he fantasy books your career. He fantasy books both of our romantic lives.
Ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. But I gotta say, a constant source of entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got people nowadays who, after last time when you had me rate Jarred Loose and something as waiting designs I've done, people like literally will see me after they haven't seen me a few months, like, you got any new something as waiting merch that you've been working on? Because I will say, you know, I did a design recently that my girlfriend literally was like, that's the greatest shirt design I've ever seen. And I was like, no.
See, I'm curious about it now because the Pee Wee one that you did for him is amazing.
Yeah, so it was the Scott Stapp one. Did you see that one?
Oh, the Dallas Cowboys one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. So, like, is that really a thing? Was that really that bad? I mean, okay, it was fucking Creed. It was fucking terrible. Is there something about that that's so reviled?
I have no idea. All that I know is that if you remove Scott Stapp from Creed and then you add Miles Kennedy, you end up with a day where you can see clearly.
Nice. Took me a second. I got that. Yeah, you're right. It's also called Ultra Bridge, right?
Yeah.
Is that not the band? Right.
Yeah, but you know, they've basically made a career out of living on the edge.
Isn't that great? There's like a whole thing where like when he told me about that, he was like, do you know about the Creed halftime show? And I was like, I don't watch football. I have caught Super Bowls here and there, you know, mostly just because I like to drink and hang out with my buddies. So like I'll show up at a Super Bowl party. But he was like, you know about the Creed halftime show. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And he was like, and like then I Google it, and it seems like there's a lot of people talk. I couldn't get to the bottom of why it's known as like some weird, bizarre. It seemed like a halftime show to me. It didn't seem
that's the thing that I don't get. It just looks like another halftime show performance to me too.
Yeah, but you've seen how people talk about it like it's a big thing, right? I mean, is it just suck because it's Creed?
I mean, I assume that. So I have the only person that I've seen talk about Creed like it's a big thing is Eddie.
Yo, you can replace Creed with a lot of things, not just bands. And he really
know.
It's wild, man. Like I used to like. I think like you know like sometimes things or people in your life like present such fucking opinions or ideas to you that you don't know how to handle it, and you try to fucking understand it, and you try with your entire being to fucking get to the bottom of it in your head. And sometimes I think that you just need to like stop and realize there's fucking no understanding in it, and you just need to take it for what it's worth. And that's how I feel about Eddie.
Well, no, because like we were talking about like a year ago, Eddie makes more sense when you just process him as being Chicago Kramer.
Yeah, 100%. Yo, you said that to me, and I was like, I think I get Eddie. You know, and by the way, like, if anybody has anything to say, I think we both love Eddie to death. You know what I mean? Like, I'll talk shit about him all I want. He is an insane man that makes insane claims, and often doesn't make any sense, and often is very understanding when I'm like, yo, dog, that's not what's happening. I also want to point out on your podcast that he owes me $50 fucking because he refuses to fucking tell me that he swore that Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes would not main event WrestleMania this year. And I don't give a fuck what he says. I know it for a fact. And now I screenshot everything that Eddie texts me. So he's fucked from now on. I will be holding him accountable for the rest of his life.
Yeah. No, so another thing too, to the defense of the Something is Waiting t-shirts, I feel like his
You're
design
one of the
ideas.
biggest fucking offenders of defending them, by the way. And I don't appreciate it. I appreciate it.
His designs have gotten easier, or I wouldn't say easier to figure out, but they make more sense. Like I get the jokes more often now.
Okay, so I'd like you to thank me for that. Thank you, Stavros. I told him like 2 years ago that we were going to do 2 references tops. No more of this 6 reference thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things he likes to just throw on there, and it's for him to laugh. Don't get me wrong, man. Big fan of the inside joke, but like, is it necessary? Here's an example. A couple years ago, I drew a shirt for him. We're both big Seinfeld Curb. Well, I'm a Curb guy. I don't know how big of a Curb Your Enthusiasm fan Eddie is. I know he loves Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So I thought about there was a Metallica shirt from the Black Album. They're all like this on the front of it. On the back, it says Birth School Metallica Death. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be hilarious if like in the Metallica right it said pretty, pretty, pretty good. You know? And then I was like, how can I tie that together? And I wound up drawing Larry David's head and then sticking it on top of the scary guy. You know, like the drawing or whatever. And all this is that. And
I have that somewhere. I've got it as a tank top.
Yeah. Of course, you know, it's a fucking brilliant shirt. But it was funny because I was like, listen, here's the deal. I like this shirt. I'm very into this shirt. We're not throwing out any other references. I'm not taking any bullshit from you. I'm presenting this to you on a silver platter. You're just going to make it in payment. You know, like it was like one of those things. Like, no, I'm not listening to a word you're saying, Eddie. And at some point he's like, but don't you think we should add a Mudvayne reference? And I'm like, what the fuck are you fucking talking? Like, he literally was like doing one of those things. I know that you can picture him in your head because you know him just as well as I do, where he's like, like literally doing one of these. Like, do you think we can add a Mudvayne reference? And I was like, what the fuck does Mudvayne have to do with Metallica or fucking Larry David? Do you know what it came down to? What? LD50, Larry David 50. And I was like, fuck no, you know. And since then, I was like, we're keeping it to 2 fucking things. That's it. And I only want it to be 1. You know what I mean? I think your band should be the other 50% of a parody shirt. You know, like I'm not against a parody shirt. You know, you have plenty of them in my band too. I mean, like they're funny. I enjoy that kind of. But like when he's starting to add in LD50, like it's like the first album from a band that most people like really don't even fucking remember at this point. You know what I mean? I know Mudvayne's popular and all, but like no one's seeing that and thinking Mudvayne. Get the fuck out of here, dude. You already got a Metallica one. It's all you fucking need. It's not like throwing a Mudvayne references are going to sell 50 more t-shirts. You know what I mean? If anything, if I saw a shirt with a Mudvayne reference, I personally would be like, nah, never mind. Now it sounds cool.
Yeah, but one of my favorite things about Eddie though is that you can throw a killer fucking idea at him, and he'll sit there and he'll do that whole you got something there, but it's missing something.
Yeah. Like, no, actually, that's a complete idea there, Eddie. I did a flyer for him the other day, and it was just a piece of art I drew, and he goes, "Oh, that's awesome! It's like Mad Balls, right?" I'm like, "It just happens to be a round head. That's a mummy. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's a little Mad Balls-ish." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "You know what we should need to do? It was a fucking flyer too." He goes, "We should add a Tales from the Crypt or a Mad Ball logo to it." I'm like, well, first of all, that's kind of cheapening my art. It wasn't those things. I'm glad that you see that in there, but like, also, why am I putting a logo on a flyer? That's, you know, like if I put a Mad Ball logo on there, are people thinking maybe Mad Ball's playing? Like that's ridiculous. So he lets me edit him a little bit, which I can appreciate. I think him and I have such a good. Me and Eddie work really well together, but it took a lot of years to get there, you know. And I think he's finally listening to me a little bit. And I still let him get away with some fucking stupid shit, but you know, it makes him happy. Whatever.
Yeah.
I know when to pick my battles. You know what I mean? Like, when I told him that adding a logo to that artwork would be cheaping my artwork, he did say, "Okay, Mona Lisa." I was like, that's you know, that's the name of the painting, Eddie. That's not who painted that shit. You know, like so. Bless his heart.
Yeah. No, this is still one of my favorite shirts that he ever put out for any of his bands. Sting versus
I did not do that shirt
versus Icon.
I did not do that shirt.
Yeah.
Good one. And it's something that I think all of us as growing up as wrestling fans always thought about in our mind. You know what I mean? I am surprised that he didn't make that shirt something about how Sting has to, or how the musician Sting has to pay the wrestler Sting royalties. Because that's like so much more.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. From what I understand, sounds like Sting, the musician, just never thought of fucking copywriting it. Sting, the fucking wrestler. They're apparently very good friends. There's a lot of pictures of him playing Sting's bass with him, or Sting playing Sting's bass, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, apparently that's the thing. Apparently he has to pay Sting royalties. Probably what has afforded Sting a very fucking nice career and being able to just sit back and take money from, the contract that he got bought out on. I don't know. Good for him.
Well, I told you the follow-up shirt idea to this that I tried to give him once, right?
You did, but I don't remember it.
It was so it would have been like a old school like boxing promo flyer.
Kind of like that shirt.
And it would have been Ono versus Zuna, Battle of the Yokos, Triple X Showdown of the Century.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, and now I was like, I hope Eddie doesn't listen to this podcast because he doesn't. I just did a shirt for him that I keep doing shirts in advance for him, and like he's got a backlog of shirts that I haven't even, he's told me not to post or talk about yet. And I've done some really, actually, a lot of times I'm like, okay, Eddie, he'll be like, do you want one? I'll be like, no. I do so many shirts for something. I want to point out, I do love his band. I think they're great. Something Is Waiting is awesome.
Yeah.
I love Eddie and all that. I think he's a pretty amazing front man. Not as good as me, as he likes to say. But I'll give the man his due. Also, there's so many shirts that I do for him. I don't need every one of them. I don't need a bunch of black t-shirts. But he's got a couple coming out that I've been like, put one of those aside for him. Like that one's pretty good. I'll rock that shit. There's a great Kanye West one coming. I think we sent it to you the other day. It's fucking brilliant. I'm gonna wear the fuck out of it.
I agree about his band too. It's
they are abrasive and not for everybody, but I think if you get it, you are rewarded thusly. You know what I mean? Like I know it's not for everybody. They know it's not for everybody. But if you get it, you fucking get it, and I think it's rewarding. You know what I mean?
Like I feel like half of my appreciation for it is that I'm kind of like in on like most of the jokes.
100%.
Yeah.
I think we both are. I know I definitely am.
Like on that second album that they did, the song "Work Husband" came from a conversation that I had with Eddie one of the times that I visited before moving back here. And he's like, you'll appreciate this song after he writes it or whatever. He was like showing me the album early on. He goes, "You'll appreciate this one."
You'll appreciate it. I do find it hilarious that he has a song called "House of Style" that's written by a guy with no style, none whatsoever. Like the guy has cardigans with his name on the back of them. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's very fashionable. So
that's the Eddie Gobo jersey.
Next question.
That's all I gotta put a star wipe in.
Yeah. Yeah, straight up fucking like Empire Strikes Back style star wipe. Boom, we're done here. We're done talking about Eddie now. Boom.
Yeah, well, I've had you for a little bit over an hour now. I don't want to take up too much of your evening. So is there anything else that you want to put out there?
For the rest of the evening anyway, so it's fine. No big deal. I gotta catch up on Raw anyway, so it's good.
Yeah. I gotta catch up on Raw now too.
The only reason that I'm doing this is to beat Bruce Lamont. You know what I mean? I refuse to let that guy get more views than me. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I haven't done a podcast in a couple of years, so feeling pretty confident. Come back. Thank you for having me, though, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's good catching up, even though we catch up every day.
We have no reason to catch up. I literally talk to this man daily, all day, about everything we like. We never skip a beat. So, but still good catch up with you.
Yeah.
You were at my house like 3 weeks ago. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you, though.
All right. See ya.